Hey, Planeswalkers, Mithras here. Hope you're doing well and staying safe. I appreciate you taking the time to watch my video. We got a lot in store for you today. It is one of my favorite days. We have a best of one historic tier list coming your way. I will cover the tier list, which is a 1 to 3 stack rank system. Additionally, I got a lot of key observations and trends for you. And then we'll close out with three kind of decks that I do want to spotlight and cover that I felt have made a decent impact, at least for myself, particularly in the best of one realm in this December season. So, with that said, Planeswalkers, again, a huge thank you. I truly appreciate your support. Please like the video if you enjoyed, if you learned something new or had some fun. And additionally, please make sure you subscribe to the channel down over there. Love to see you around again and love to continue the movement and build the community. So, Planeswalkers, with that said, let's go ahead and check out our tier list. We have, you're starting to get used to this now. I've changed it up a little bit. We have a list for you that I've procured for about roughly 20 decks. Here's what we got going on. Again, so the way that I do this, a couple comments before I just go through the list here. It is a stack ranked. Top to bottom are typically going to be the stronger deck above the rest. And then additionally, this is in totality of this list and kind of considering the other stuff out there, even though not all the decks are here. So if you do see something missing, please let me know. If you want me to do something that you've done and top 1500 in or something like that, always happy to spotlight. So a couple things there. Now, additionally, something to keep an eye on here and understand when it comes to best of one, because I do get questions: how do you procure the list, how do you do these things? Best of one's a little bit of a different beast. I do play all the decks, or at least try to. I read a bunch, do a lot of things, I talk about all that. But best of one particularly tends to be more statistic heavy driven, primarily around win rate. I do primarily look at mythic starting point for these decks. I do spread it once in a while. You can't always get all the statistics, but I do my best where I can for you. And then again, just results and those kinds of things. But unless you guys have a better suggestion in terms of some of the tournaments where there's best of one, please let me know. Happy to take a look, but that is generally how I do this. So pretty strong on the statistic base. There is a little bit of qualitative analysis done by yours truly as I play these decks, as I play competitive, those kinds of things. So there is a sense of kind of look, touch, and feel as well. So with that, we have tier list in the first rank there. Jun's Sacrifice. We then have Azorus Auras, also known as UW Auras or Azorus Luris Auras. Say that 10 times fast. UW Luris Auras, probably similar. And then Rakdos Sacrifice. So that rounds out the tier 1 list. These are the current strongest decks. The tier 2 kind of top of that list is very strong as well. It's very tight knit. But again, just the way and function of how many decks that we do have, which is roughly 20 here. Tier 2 starting off, we got Mono Red Aggro, we got Rakdos Arcanist, Temur Neoform, also known as Neostorm or Temur Neostorm. We got Gruul Aggro, Mono Red Goblins, Orzhov Auras, Mono Red Burn, Mono Black Aggro. That rounds out our tier 2. And then tier 3, we got Sultai Midrange, Selesnya Fauna Shaman, Mono Green, Dimir Rogues, Azor's Control, 4-color midrange, and then Paradox Engine. So I want you to hold your questions because I got 2 comments here first. But please feel free to ask down below. Additionally, in the description, I do have a link to the Discord there so you guys can hop in and hang out and ask questions there if you'd like. Additionally, before those comments, the list is available for you down below. You have access to it right now. You have access to the lists. So please feel free to pick them up and start playing them. Additionally, I do have the link to my website there with more information, article lists, that kind of thing as well, if you prefer. So just another spot for you to kind of get more information. So 2 comments. First one: why isn't Mono Red Goblins number 1? Yada yada yada. So lots of times I get this question. People heavily say it's tier one. I will tell you statistically, there's several decks in front of it, and that is why you see this here. Is Muxus great? Yes, he's great. It's probably not banned yet because of the statistics. So just saying, it's a very good deck. I enjoy playing it, particularly if I just want to, not think too much. No offense, um, but I do like playing the deck. So that is something to keep in mind. These other decks are actually statistically more significant in terms of win rate on mono red for now. Now, it doesn't mean something's going to change. We're going to get some more goblins or whatever have you, or something else gets worse, or the stuff changes, because that happens. But that is why. The second piece there, you might be asking, why is Paradox Engine combo way down there? We'll talk about this a little bit in the observations, but the reality is, I didn't feel comfortable playing in tier two. If you guys check out my best of three list, there were calls to see it in tier one. I disagree on that. I still think it's a tier two list. I think it's got a little bit more working out. To be honest, I think just given the nature of best of one, Paradox Engine to me just is not consistent enough. There's too many things that you have to do, and the pace is just so much better and quicker in some of these other decks. So those are the two things that I did want to try and get in front of, because I know a lot of you like to ask me those kinds of questions, so I'll try and do it here. And with that as well, a couple other things around the deck list. I know there's a lot more out there. I plan to cover more, and I do these both in best of one and best of three. And additionally, the deck lists work both for each. I try and use the main board for the best of one. Can it be tweaked? Yes, you can do that. I absolutely tweak all the decks. I just enjoy doing and showcasing other people's top decks. I do brew my own stuff, but it's just a thing that I have that I enjoy. Not only does it keep myself honest, but it keeps other people honest out there as well. And I love sharing their stories. So that is what we got going on today for the tier list. Again, let me know if you got questions, comments, disagree, agree, whatever. Enjoy talking about these things, and I enjoy doing it for you. So with that, I'm going to move into the observation piece of today's segment. But before I do so, again, just a huge thank you. I really, truly appreciate your support. Please like the video if you enjoy it. You can like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter and Twitch as well to stay up to date with content like this. Other ways to support the channel down below, like becoming a patron. So quick shout out for my monthly there to Alfie as well as Crippled Snowman. So appreciate that. And then also feel free to become a YouTube member. We've got a lot of great ways for us to interact and have benefits. I love reviewing deck lists and those kinds of things as well. So let's go ahead now and talk about some of the observations. I'm going to move this guy out of the way. Hopefully, your eyes could read all of that because mine do tend. I'm getting older. Tend not to be the best once in a while. So we'll get rid of that as well. Now, quickly, what we got going on here in terms of the observations. I do make them different in terms of best of one and best of three. Quick feedback here for the community, guys. Really thank you. I've done work on my mic, so let me know what you think. You guys gave me some great constructive criticism. I want your user experience to be better, so please let me know. Best of three, the observations are different than my best of one here that we're going to talk about today. So please stay tuned. We got a few things here. So first off, we got the historic rush. So I didn't talk about this in best of three, but something that was covered slightly in standard. You guys can check out my best of three standard tier list here as well as we're closing out the month. But the historic rush was right off the bat. A lot of the decks that were top decks were actually historic. So two things here that I think are at least worth mentioning. One is kind of standard fatigue. I think that could be a piece of it. This is a very long standard season. Or the other piece is just the fact of the events that were stack ranked or laddered here. At the beginning of December, we had the Arena Open, we had Zendikars Rising Championship, those kinds of things. So there definitely could have been a lot of focus on honing the game there. But at times, The path to Mythic is different. It's different each month, but generally, Historic tends to be fairly quick paced and fairly solid, particularly in the best of one space as well, and pretty streamlined. And with that, it's actually a natural path as a player and as an evolution that I do want to call out, particularly as we've seen the growth in terms of the historic format, in terms of the competitive events that Wizards has been doing, like Zendikars Rising Championship. Personally, for me, it was a natural path in terms of getting more competitive, producing this content for you guys, hitting the MQs, top 1500s, and first MQ that I played in was historic, so I didn't really have a choice. So I feel like that's going to become more common. Maybe it's going to transcend into the actual physical card game when we get back to that one of these days. Um, so I think what I'm trying to say is either by hook or by crook, you're going to end up playing historic. So at a minimum, you should be paying attention. And if you're always looking for tips on how to move across, because I do get a lot of these questions all the time, please let me know. Or if you'd like a specific segment on that, I'm considering producing something around that as well. Now, the next thing, as I like to say, is there is one combo to rule them all right now in historic. My nod to Lord of the Rings, they're a big fan. But anyway, we have multiple decks in terms of combos. People love combos. We have the Paradox Engine one. We got Neostorm. We got I think it's Marvel. Two things with Kaladesh. Now, very important to note that many of us love to see these things work and force work. Hats off to the person that originally found this on Reddit. I can't remember your name. I wish I could give you the credit. I apologize. Um, but when I first saw it, I was like, ah, that's great. Don't know if it's going to stick around. And yes, it has. So that is our Teamer Neostorm deck, my friends. It is a very fast paced combo deck. It works well. Can it be interrupted? Yes. It's got a high win rate. Yes. It's a fast turn 3, turn 4. Yes. It's quick. It does work. And actually pretty, depends on if you're a combo player or what you like, but can be pretty enjoyable. So that was something personal that I'll say that I learned at least this month. And something that is, if you are a combo player, my recommendation would be to play Neostorm there. And additionally, hopefully it's a little less craft heavy too. I still got to craft a little bit there, as you can see for this particular one. I did take it into Friday night F&M kind of a thing for the historic all access. Now, another couple of callouts here. What I have is what I'm calling tempered speed. So traditionally, best of one's very aggressive, very fast, as I mentioned. Sometimes turn 3, turn 4 for sure. Decks. These are everyone's favorite. Aggro decks, mono red, mono burn. You name it, we got it. It's going to be fast. But some of that's changed. Particularly, we see that strengthening of the sacrifice decks, and those are more about tempering expectations. Additionally, we have UW Auras because there is a little bit more resistance with that deck at the top end, and pretty powerful to at least be able to protect some of your creatures. Some of the other strategies don't necessarily have that, which is one of the reasons why sacrifice is really excelling right now in the given meta. Additionally, given some of the inputs from Kaladesh, has really helped it. And that leads us into some of that similar conversation around linear strategies. When you get into best of one, when you get into historic, it's not like best of one in standard. Is much different. It's very direct. It's very targeted. You have one thing that you're really focused on doing in terms of that win condition. Do you have a couple wider strategies? Yes, once in a while. Jump sacrifice could be a slight example, but the reality is you're going for it with something in particular, whether that's the mono red aggro, Neostorm in terms combo that you have going on. That's the key out. There are other fun things that I've done back in the day. The treasure hunt deck, I should check out. It's pretty fun. But that is the pace at which the game is, and with that, you're going to make trades. You absolutely are going to make trades. There's just going to be certain decks that your deck's not going to perform well against. Can you beat them? Yes. Statistically, it's just more that you're not going to necessarily outperform, given at a high level of competition. Can it happen? Yes, absolutely. But those are just considerations. You're just going to be making trades on those kinds of things, and you just got to be prepared to do it. I'm not telling you to like walk in and quit when you lose to, or you're going to hit a bad matchup. That's just part of the game, and that's part of the roll of the dice that you take, and that's part of the reason that I'll just kind of chime in there, that particularly we don't see like 4 Graph Diggers in a mono red aggro deck. Because they're not playing against the sacrifice decks the same way. It changes in best of 3, but those are some considerations to make when you're approaching your kind of best of 1 mentality in game. Now, never forget though, sacrifice struggled prior to Kaladesh to some extent in best of 3 and even best of 1 because of Yasharn. That card stinks in standard right now. I'm sorry. I'm just doesn't do a whole lot. Does it do something? Yes, but doesn't do a whole lot. It helps a ton in historic. Now, what changed though was that fatal push. You got a 1-drop against a 4-drop. That's a big trade and a cheap cast, double up cast, lots of things. It kind of pushed Yasharn out. So that is one of the things that kind of re-rose the sacrifice decks to prominence. Sultai was really kind of dominating, and 4-color was dominating, and 4-color even out-dominated at times Sultai. And you guys can go check out some of the trend stuff prior to this. Now, that's still kind of the best of 3 world, best of 1 slightly different. But what I'm trying to tell you is that nothing is guaranteed like change, death, and taxes. So I'm sure that stuff is going to happen over the next year for us with more remastered, lots of new decks and series and set releases. You name it, we have it, we got it, kind of a thing. Additionally, bannings could change. We see Wizards reacting faster. I propose soft bans in my standard spiel there yesterday in the best 3 tier list. I'm actually a fan of that, of like keeping stuff fresh, and not totally removing the cards, but just giving them like a month breather just to kind of let things change up, particularly in the competitive space, and allow competitive players to really focus on crafting those decks to maintain kind of their own skill set too. So just something I'm a fan of. Now, the final piece here that I do want to cover in our observations is just the fact that I'm calling the proof is in the pudding, my friends. And this is important to note because when we do look at the top list here, again, I'll just pull this over quick so you guys can see it. But we do have kind of that piece right here: sacrifice, convergence. I don't even want to call it divergence because the Jun sack and the Rakdos sack are fairly similar. But what we do have is, with that said, one interesting observation with that is we see in the best of 1 list, particularly, an interesting dichotomy in terms of win rates between the best of 1 in standard and the best of 1 in historic. And what I'm saying is that the higher end actually commands a little bit nicer cushion in terms of win rate, generally being like 55 to 60%, versus I'd say like a 57%, one or two decks in standard, but then generally most things being below 55, which is kind of interesting. So health of standard, still got the diversity in historic, but it's a really tends to be a little bit more spread out in those win rates, which is pretty interesting. Now, within that though, there's 3 considerations to make when we look at this. And what that is most sacrifice archetypes are at the top. Red, green, and black dominate the tier list, and they dominate the upper half, and red is the most prominent. So again, that speaks very loudly to best of 1. Aggression, aggro, fast, need for speed. You got it. You gotta have a splash of red in there. Right? But the other thing that's a little bit more interesting that I do think is worth noting is the graveyard and recursion piece are key to a lot of these top 5 decks here, minus kind of that mono red aggro. We have this ability to fully utilize our board and all the options available to us, which creates more things to have at your disposal, make your deck more powerful. So I do want to call those things out because I think it's pretty interesting, and is a very unique observation here in terms of best of one. And obviously different than some of the stuff that I talked about in terms of the best of 3, where I did cover a little bit more of the impact on Kaladesh. Um, so hope you guys enjoyed the observations. I'm going to go ahead and cover 3 key decks here in a minute. But before I do that, just 2 things here. Just bear with me. I do want to say thank you before, again, I got the timestamps below, but I do want to say thank you. I truly appreciate this journey that we've been on together over the past year here, particularly myself in terms of growth and being a competitive player, but also curating this content for you guys. I hope you and your families have a safe and wonderful New Year's. I hope you had a great holiday. I look forward to the continuation of this relationship in the next year in terms of us being more creative and having a productive Magic community. And additionally, as I always say, please feel free to give me some constructive feedback. And I do want to do a quick call out to Aeneas, who's been very kind and almost daily letting me know that they want to see this tier 1 or the best of 1 historic list. So to you, my friend, I did it. I got through it here towards the end of the month. I was not dragging it on you either. So just a quick shout out there. So we will go ahead now and cover these 3 decks. I think it's important. Again, Planeswalkers, before I do so, again, huge thank you. I truly appreciate your support. Please feel free to like the video if you're enjoying it. Feel free to subscribe to the channel down over there. Would love to see you around more. And you can follow me on Twitter and Twitch. Stay up to date on daily content like this. All right, so 3 key decks that I want to cover. We're going to talk about the number 2 Jund Sacrifice deck, which is by JS2. So hey, I'm listening. You guys gave me some feedback on this, so I'm trying to give credit here. 2, and I do give credit in all my videos. So if you do just see the tier list here, please know that if anything. Then I want to talk about the Teamer Neoform deck. That's number 1 there, or hit number 1 by Stupid Rock 01. And then last but not least, Rakdos Arcanus deck list here. From and again, more of a personal story here, but with Louis Salvato. So thank you to all those gentlemen and their contributions to the community, and additionally sharing their deck list with us. So first, we're going to talk about the Jund Sack deck by JS2. One of the things that I really liked about this deck was the fact that it didn't quite follow the traditional sacrifice decks where you were just using claim or stealing creatures. It's got a little bit more aggression on the bottom end in terms of taking out your opponents. They got a 1-off on Scavenging Ooze. You guys know I'm a huge fan of that. We got the good old Midnight Reapers in there. Very aggressive on Corvold, and you got a 1-off on Bolas' Citadel. Some very interesting mechanics within this archetype that I think is very important to note. And then additionally in the sideboard here, lots of things that we can play given the current meta and how we want to adjust to those. So again, I do deep dives on each of these decks. You guys can check them out. Links are down below. Next, I do want to talk about the Rakdos Arcanus deck. So this one we put in the tier 2 here. This particular one, yeah, and I do have an updated list, was by Louis Salvato. I chose to run this in the MQ right after Louis had a very, very nice, and I'm probably saying this, or probably Louis, had their run in whatever championship it was right before the MQ. I made a last minute decision to pivot off of auras, which I was very successful in the Arena Open on, both mono white and UW, and then move into Rakdos Arcanus for my Mythic qualifier. Unfortunately, I did not play it as well as Louis did, but I did feel like it had an impact then. And it certainly has had an impact now, and particularly I know those of you that followed me on the best of three historic had called out, well, why isn't this one better? And I do agree. I think it's become a much better position. Part of that was given when I built that list and kind of some of the events that unfolded, as well as the information that I had at hand. I don't try to jump on the bandwagon. I try to provide good, rational insights ahead of time, as well as sharing good, constructive information given off of current data and available data. So with that, this is the list. Pretty interesting. The graveyard recursion's great. A lot of fun to play. Does take a little bit of thinking through. But the one call out that I always say is be careful, because you can really do damage to yourself with the Thoughtseize and the recursion. So just you got to keep an extra eye on your own life once in a while. Here's the sideboard as well for you guys to check out. Last but not least, I do want to touch on the number one Teemo Neoform deck that I did cover. Again, this one was by Stupid Rock 01, so congrats on your 01 finish here for the season. I still got a lot to craft, you guys, on this. 7 uncommon, I'm not worried about that, but the rares, I am saving mine. But if I were to choose a deck that I know is competitive, that's fun to play, and that I would craft, it would be this one. And really, I could just craft these 4. Well, I mean, these 4, the land base is nice, but I could always sub some of those things in, and I don't have to worry about the sideboard so much. But just like to show that even for our best of 1, if you guys are wondering. But here's what we got going on. I really like Pact of Negation, this deck. It's a huge lifesaver at times. So you guys can keep that in mind. But this deck is all about Neoform here. It's about comboing off, pulling in dual casters, getting a tuck, getting a combat celebrant when it works, and then running them over for lethal very, very quickly. And it works really well. And it's very consistent and gives you the pieces to kind of find it and protect yourself with. So this deck, a lot of fun. Impact for me for sure, at least this month and this season, in terms of something that I definitely gained a lot more respect for myself. So with that said, Planeswalkers, that is the decks. Quickly there, very proud of this. Still in the top 1,500 with less than 38 hours. We'll see. But you guys came here not to see me do that. You guys already know that I can do that. So, but to close this all out, we talked about the tier list. I'll bring this back in here, so you guys can have one last look. Again, so we talked about the tier list. This is available for you down below. You have access to it right away. Links there. Check out the website. Lots of great information. A lot of stuff that I talked about is there for you too. And you guys can stay in touch as I do these monthly there as well, if you'd like. We talked about this tier list. We talked about key trends, observations, quite a few. Again, a little bit different than the best of 3 stuff, so you guys should check that out, but very focused in terms of best of 1. And then additionally, 3 key decks, the Jund Sacrifice, the Temur Neostorm Neoform deck, and then also the Rakdos Arcanus deck. That, each of those things really, really played and had an impact on my own play, at least over the year and the season. So glad we could talk about those. If you do have questions or comments, let me know down below. Hop in the Discord. Happy to chat. Last but not least, again, as always, huge thank you, Planeswalkers. I don't take your support for granted. I'm blessed. I appreciate it. So please like the video if you enjoy it. Please feel free to subscribe to the channel down over there. Additionally, you can like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter and Twitch, stay up to date on content like this, and other great ways to support the channel down below as well. And then love feedback, constructive criticism. Let me know, did the mic work, you guys? I hope it did. And hopefully some of those pesky clicks went away and some of the background noise. I think I got it. So trying to create a better user experience for you. So I appreciate that. If you got top 1500 decks, if you got cool decks that you're proud of, send them my way. Love seeing those things. Love sharing the stories. Really makes my day. And last, before I leave you, I just want to say, truly again, have a wonderful new year. Stay safe. Take care. If you're fortunate to be able to spend time with your families, given the situation, you know, please enjoy it. Like everything, it is only a fleeting moment. We'll get through this stuff. And looking forward to next year with you guys. Until next time, Planeswalkers, I'll see you again soon. Mithras out. Stay tuned because we do have a lot more things coming your way, a lot more top decks coming your way. And I'm looking forward to continuing this journey with you. All right, until next time, we'll see you again.